Hey there guys, so we had news that Andy Ruiz Jr. had agreed to fight in Saudi Arabia against Anthony Joshua, and he was happy because he was given more money. But that's not the only reason why Andy Ruiz Jr. caved in to the rematch being in Saudi Arabia. There was a legal case filed by Eddie Hearn, and then Andy Ruiz Jr. immediately signed on for the rematch. And following that announcement, Andy Ruiz Jr. took to Twitter to write a statement about Anthony Joshua. This is what he had to say. I dethroned the King June 1st and made history, becoming the first Mexican-American heavyweight champion of the world. I'm looking forward to ending his career in the desert. Andy Ruiz Jr. also said in Mexican, so I'll translate it, I will show the greatness of Mexican boxing in Saudi Arabia. So guys, do you sense a little bit of friction there? Maybe because he doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. It's because he had a lawsuit filed against him and he had no choice but to sign off and go for the rematch in Saudi Arabia. Obviously, he has to take this rematch, and Eddie Hearn filed legal papers in New York invoking the original contract. So Ruiz had no choice but to accept that contract. Now, it has been well documented and well publicised that Andy Ruiz Jr. signed a rematch clause before the first fight. So he signed off on the rematch way before the first fight. He knew what he was getting himself into. And if he knew he was going to beat Anthony Joshua, which he says he did, then he knew the rematch was going to happen. So if it is in Saudi Arabia, it is in Saudi Arabia. Now, there were concerns that Andy Ruiz Jr. might be able to wriggle out of this because his government say it's not safe to go to Saudi Arabia. But Eddie Hearn filed the papers in New York to invoke the contract. So obviously that means the rematch is a go and Andy Ruiz Jr. has no way out of it. Now, obviously, they did chuck him a few extra dollars, which is out of respect because Eddie Hearn said he wanted to make sure that Andy Ruiz Jr. was comfortable and that he was respected because he is now the unified heavyweight champion. So Andy Ruiz Jr.'s fight purse will now be $10 million, which he is very happy with, I would imagine. Now, let's get on to his tweets. He will end Anthony Joshua's career. I don't believe he will. I think Anthony Joshua will be ready for this. He wants to fight Andy Ruiz Jr. He doesn't even want to fight Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder. He doesn't want to talk about them. He wants to talk about Andy Ruiz Jr., the biggest fight in world boxing at the moment. And do you remember in his 19th fight when he fought Vladimir Klitschko? There was no one beyond that. It was just Vladimir Klitschko. No Tyson Fury, no Deontay Wilder, just Vladimir Klitschko. Now, a similar thing happened in that fight to the Andy Ruiz Jr. fight. He gassed and he got knocked down. The same thing happened in the Ruiz Jr. fight. But he wanted to beat Vladimir Klitschko so bad. He wanted to win that fight. And he was game. That is why he managed to continue. But against Andy Ruiz Jr., the fight wasn't really there from the beginning. So obviously he struggled a lot more. Plus, Andy Ruiz Jr. was a younger, fresher opponent. But at the end of the day, Andy Ruiz Jr. was not having the huge amount of success he was after the third round in the first two rounds. It took Anthony Joshua to make a mistake for Andy Ruiz Jr. to gain success. Now, many people say that it was a beatdown, that Andy Ruiz Jr. beat him up over 3 or 4 rounds. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it was one punch that changed the course of the fight. No, it did not knock Anthony Joshua out just from one shot, but it did change the course of the fight because Anthony Joshua had Andy Ruiz Jr. on the ground, but he rushed in too quickly to try and go for the finish. But Andy Ruiz Jr. was not ready to go. He just got caught out with one punch that changed the course of the fight, and he didn't recover from that. He couldn't set his feet at all because his legs were so shaky. So beyond that point, there was no way back for Anthony Joshua, especially after Ruiz was putting in the bodywork. But in the second fight, Anthony Joshua will be wise to that. Another thing to consider is the fact that Andy Ruiz Jr. is a Mexican fighter. Now, if you look down the lower weight divisions, a lot of Mexican fighters are in those divisions, not in the heavyweight division. So heavyweight fighters are not used to the Mexican style. And when Anthony Joshua's opponents go down, they usually back up, they don't come forward. And that is what Andy Ruiz Jr. done. That is what Mexican fighters do. They want to fight. They are good boxers, but they are better fighters. So Andy Ruiz Jr. got knocked down, he got straight back up, with the intention of hurting Anthony Joshua back, not to survive, which is usually what Anthony Joshua's opponents do. They try to survive, they don't fight back, they don't try and hurt Anthony Joshua back. But Andy Ruiz Jr. did, he gambled, and it ended up paying off. Guys, what are your thoughts on this? The fact that Andy Ruiz Jr. had to have legal action taken against him in order for him to be happy with the rematch in Saudi Arabia. And what are your thoughts on his tweet towards Anthony Joshua saying he will end his career? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, click the thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. You know you want to. Thanks, guys.